Hi, I'm Ralph Preston, and every Tuesday we have these Stroke Buddies Recovery in Science Zoom meetings, and the purpose of them is to try and bring you some information that would be useful to you in your recovery. And today, back for the second time, we've got Maddie Nybeck, and Maddie's a stroke survivor and a Psionic sleeve user, and she's actually a spokesperson for Psionic. And joining her today for the first time, and thank you, Becky, for taking time out of your busy schedule, we have Becky Webster. And Becky's a physical therapist and a PhD. I didn't find what you had your PhD in, but anyhow, she's two people in the room. Um, and so Maddie's going to do a little bit of presentation. We're going to have a discussion. Questions are welcome at any time. And I see you go by Becky. And Becky can answer any technical questions. And Maddie is a stroke survivor and user. So this should be great. Let me let these two folks in. And
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ralph, for that intro. I already recognized quite a few faces from, I think, maybe the last time I was on for the Stroke Buddies to give this presentation about Psionic, but this one that I'm giving today might be a little bit different from the one that I did with you guys before. So, yeah, without further ado, I guess we'll get started. And like I said, if you have any questions throughout all this for me or for Becky, on the clinical side, drop them, I guess, in the chat and we can address them as they come up. Or I don't know, I mean, this is more kind of just like a discussion. So I guess if you want to ask a question, that's cool too.
either
Anyways,
way, I'll try and monitor the chat.
that would be great, Ralph, because I can't see it right now when I have the presentation up. So yeah, I guess let us know if any important questions come up. But today's presentation is on the neural sleeve for stroke recovery. As Ralph mentioned, my name is Maddie. I am a hemorrhagic stroke survivor. I'm an author, a disability advocate, as well as a manager for Psionic. So I use the neural sleeve myself because I have foot drop, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about my experience using the neural sleeve, as well as about the neural sleeve and how it works. And this is just a picture of me and some other neural sleeve people at a support group. I forgot that that picture was in this presentation, but kind of fun. All right, so we'll get started. So the beginning of this story, to give you guys a little bit of context, and think some of you know this, like Polly, you definitely already know all of this, but bear with me. This is a picture of me when I was a little kid. Yes, in the age 2002, not to date myself, but I was 7 years old. So I'm sure you all can do the math and figure out how old I am. But why this was significant is because when I was 7, sitting in Miss Pruding's second grade math class, specifically, I can remember this moment down to a T. I was learning how to do word problems, and my classmate Peter Marchetto and I were like trying to write word problems to learn how to do math, and we were using Willy Wonka as like the main character in all of our word problems. Anyways, it was during this moment that I was struck with my very first migraine. At migraine was, I just noticed that all of a sudden my vision kind of went all fuzzy. I was getting what is called an aura. I got severe debilitating pain, so I went to the nurse's office and just took some medicine and laid down. Unfortunately for me, this was not the end, but it was the start of my journey with migraines. So I started getting them a lot more regularly. It was very disruptive to my school schedule. You know, I'm a kid, right? So like constantly having to leave class. I started to see a neurologist. He prescribed me tons of different medications, but to be honest, none of them really seemed like they were helping or doing much. When I was 15 years old, I had a migraine that lasted for 24 days straight. So I was taken out of school. I went to the ER like 3 times. All the doctors were like, "What the heck is going on? Like, we don't know what's going on. We need to get this checked out." So I ended up having an MRI. The MRI revealed that I had a rare condition known as an arteriovenous malformation. And strokies on this call might be familiar with an AVM, is what they call it for short. It's basically an abnormal tangle of blood vessels that don't have capillaries. So I was told it can be quite dangerous. but I needed to consult with some doctors to see what the best plan of action was. So I started meeting with a bunch of neurosurgeons, the majority of which told me, your AVM is grade 6. It is so large, 7 centimeters, it is considered inoperable. Great. A smaller percentage of the neurosurgeons who I saw said, your AVM is so big, this is a serious threat, it needs to be removed immediately. So I was getting like extremely contrasting opinions, and I didn't really know what was the best way to proceed. But my family and I talked about it, and I ultimately told them I don't like the idea of having a ticking time bomb in my brain. I want to get this thing taken out. So I graduated from college and I figured I would have my brain surgery after that. I was told you don't need a lot of rest and recovery time. Everything should be fine. You'll be in the perfect position to move up to Boston a few months after the brain surgery to launch your career. I had a job lined up. I was going to move up to Boston. And yeah, I just had to get through this brain surgery. Here's a picture of me and my family on my college graduation day. So this was May of 2017, I graduated from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And 10 days later, I check into the hospital for my scheduled brain surgery. Now, I told you guys that my AVM was so big that they couldn't just do the procedure, they needed to do some pre-ops before. So, unfortunately for me, the preoperative procedures, the embolization, and the angiogram ended up causing a blood clot in my brain, which burst, causing me to have a huge stroke in the hospital and get rushed into an emergency brain surgery. The last thing that I can remember was bawling to my mom, like as I'm in the NICU or wherever you go when you're recovering from the pre-ops. And my mom like pulled the nurse aside and was like, she never cries. Like my daughter, I have a very high pain tolerance and I always have. And I never cry, but I was crying so hard I'd never felt pain this bad in my entire life. Turns out I was having a stroke. So I get rushed into the operating room. The neurosurgeon comes rushing back. He pulls my parents aside and he says to them, I will be completely honest with you. The situation is grim. She's lost a ton, I lost like 7 liters of blood, which I believe is more than the human body even has. So I don't quite know how that's possible, but I lost a ton of blood. He didn't think that it was looking good. Like he didn't think I was going to make it, but he just wanted to let my parents know that. So my family is freaking out. I'm rushed into surgery. He does, he's able to stop the bleeding and remove the AVM, and I'm placed into a medically induced coma. When I wake up from medically induced coma, I'm completely paralyzed on my left and dominant side. So I am left-handed. When I woke up, I couldn't move my left arm, the left side of like my trunk or my body, my left leg. I lost all of the left-sided vision out of both of my eyes. So I have no peripheral vision out of either eye on the left side. I had trouble speaking and swallowing was hard for me. I didn't have good memory anymore. I couldn't hold a conversation. All of these things, I was starting from square one. And so that's where my rehab journey began. Cognitive, speech, physical, occupational, therapy. I was doing all of them to try to regain these skills that I'd once taken for granted. After 15 days in the ICU, I was discharged to an inpatient rehab facility that was near where my parents lived, called Kessler in West Orange, New Jersey. So I spent 5 weeks there inpatient, where I learned how to sit up in a wheelchair as well as walk with a quad cane. And my goal was I wanted to walk into my, how do I mute this? My goal was I wanted to be able to walk into my follow-up appointment with my neurosurgeon without a cane. So luckily I've had very great physical therapists throughout my journey, and my physical therapist Todd really understood my goals and that I'm like motivated and driven and I was going to work hard. So he helped me work on, the skills that I needed to develop to be able to walk without a cane. And I would practice all the time. Like here's me and my dad walking with me in the hotel. We went to drop my sister off. She was moving in for her freshman year of college at UNC Chapel Hill. So we were down in North Carolina, dropping off my brother for his senior year at Duke, and then my sister's just starting like one town over at UNC. And I was like, we need to practice walking without the cane. So I would like walk around the hotel room and stuff like that. Anyways, I was very persistent and I really, really desperately wanted to get rid of my cane and have my independence. How do I get to the next slide? So, with all that in mind, I would like to talk a little bit now about the neural sleeve because, like I mentioned, so I have gotten rid of my cane. I do still have foot drop. I'm working on my arm and my hand. Actually, why I'm in Columbus, Ohio right now is because I'm doing like a hand and arm therapy program, intensive 3-week program. So I'm here focusing on that. That's been a little slower to come back for me than the cognitive, the speech, and even then like the physical with my leg. My leg, I think, is actually objectively probably pretty good. Like I don't need a mobility aid or anything, just a brace. Because I have foot drop and it's not really that safe for me to walk around out in public or take long walks without a brace on. I used to wear AFO a lot, but I actually kind of hated it. And then I found the Psionic Neural Sleeve. So here's just a video of me walking. I think that was last summer, actually. That was last summer walking. I was in the Netherlands and I wore my neural sleeve. But what I love about the neural sleeve is it feels more sleek and just like more aesthetically appealing than, say, my AFO. At least that's how I felt. I felt like it looked a little better. It goes easily under clothing and it allows me to wear more shoe options. For me, that was always a big thing because I am quite fashion conscious. And, before I started working at Psionic, I was actually working in the fashion industry, in luxury fashion. And I love clothes and style and all of that. So I feel like with the neural sleeve, I'm able to have broader footwear options. And now here's a picture of me. For the past year, I started as community manager at Psionic, and it's been an amazing experience. And now I want to talk to you guys, now that I've given you a little bit of background about my own journey having a stroke, which is an ongoing journey. So happy to answer any questions about that. But I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey wearing the sleeve and what the sleeve is like. Here's just a picture. I forgot that I had this slide in here too, but I mentioned about being in fashion and loving fashion. Last year, I was asked to model in New York Fashion Week. So naturally, I wore my neural sleeve on the runway, and that's just a picture from it. So that was a cool thing. So yeah, neural sleeve can be stylish. You can wear it for all different occasions, which is one of the best parts, I think.
Do they make it in flesh color?
So right now, it's only two colors, the black color and the blue. But yes, I think it would be great to have more color schemes, but for now, that's what we have. Um, yeah, I wore the blue one when I was on the runway, but right now I have a black sleeve and I love that one too. All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what is the neural sleeve and how it works. Psionic is the name of our company. As you know, we have the neural sleeve and we build bionic clothing to augment human movement, meaning helping you to be able to walk better. So people who wear the neural sleeve might have mobility difficulties. For example, a stroke survivor with foot drop. Someone who has multiple sclerosis or cerebral palsy might have issues with their mobility and need a little bit of assistance to be able to walk better. So we are FDA cleared and have won some awards as well for having innovation in design. Here's a video. Some of you may have seen this before, but I'll show it again because I'm sure there are some new people on this call about how the neural sleeve works.
Have you ever thought about what it takes to walk, or swim, or kick a soccer ball? Well, it all depends on something called upper motor neuron signaling. That might sound complicated, but let me break it down. Moving your body requires an elaborate choreography of many muscles, all of which are controlled by your brain. Your brain sends a precise sequence of commands through your nervous system in the form of tiny electric pulses that tell your muscles to contract or relax. This system works so well that you don't even have to think about it. But for those with multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, or who have experienced a stroke, signals from the brain don't always arrive like they should. And then the muscles don't move as the brain intends. The Psionic Neural Sleeve works by replacing these missing or mistimed signals from the brain. The neural sleeve generates its own electrical pulses that can track each of the 4 main leg muscles through more than 20 electrodes located throughout the sleeve. As the leg moves through space, our machine learning software is simultaneously observing each user's unique way of walking and adapting to it, personalizing muscle contractions for each user and getting smarter with every step. We spent a lot of time ensuring that it looked and felt exactly like clothing, so that it was comfortable enough to wear all day, discreet enough that it could be worn under clothing, and cool enough that you could show it off. We also wanted to help people set and achieve their mobility goals, so we developed an app. With this app, users can perform different exercises, track their progress, and get the most out of their sleeves. The ultimate goal is to help our users regain neuroplasticity, rebuild neural pathways, and support movement even when they are not wearing the sleeve. With the Psionic Neural Sleeve, there is finally a high-tech mobility option that truly focuses on the connection between the brain and the body.
I saw in the chat, is everyone able to see my screen? I saw a message in the chat asking if I was sharing. Ralph, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see your screen. No problem.
Okay.
It's just
So
on the recording too. I got another one of those dumb questions that everybody's thinking about, and that's
yeah.
so it was showed somebody swimming in the pool. Is the sleeve waterproof? Can you wear it in the pool?
So unfortunately, no, you cannot
think
wear
so.
it to go swimming, but I think that would be a great next step would be to have a waterproof sleeve, but we don't have one right now.
Actually, what everybody's asking me is when are you coming out with the one for arms and
I know. That's everyone's favorite question, including myself, because
I know I was gonna say
that's more of how I'm affected is more so for my hand. So it's something that we are aware of and working on, but I don't have any dates as to like when we will have a product out for the upper extremity, but I hope soon.
a lot of people are hoping soon.
I know, exactly. Me too. Me too. So hopefully, fingers crossed that we'll be able to get something out there soon.
It's
Are there any other questions, or do you want me to continue with the
I
presentation?
have a
okay.
question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
First of all, let me tell you that you are very brave. I admire you. I admire you. I
Thank
have
you.
a question. I think I saw you wearing a Bioness, and now you are wearing the sleeve. How do they compare?
Oh, how do they compare? Yeah, so there's a few ways in which they compare. I would say the most biggest difference that I've noticed myself is the way in which the stimulation is administered. When you wear the sleeve, it's kind of like spread out across all of your leg, right? All of the muscles, so it feels more mild. I will say the Bioness stimulation is kind of like it's quite sharp in my opinion, so I think it is more likely to hurt. So I think like that's a way. Also, the Bioness stimulates direct to the nerve, the peroneal nerve, whereas the sleeve is to the muscle.
Oh, really?
And then obviously the cost is another difference. And then also with the Bioness, if you want the full leg stimulation, you need to buy 2 different units. You need the lower leg and the upper leg. Whereas with the sleeve, it's just all in one. So those are I think the biggest differences that I notice.
Can you tell me about the cost of the sleeve?
Of the sleeve, yes, ma'am. So that is actually, and I can't see the screen anymore, so I don't know. What was your name?
Rita.
Rita.
Rita. Yes, we're going to get to that in a couple of
Okay,
slides.
thank you.
Yes, we'll get to the cost. So are there any more questions or should I continue?
No, continue. Leave for me.
Perfect. All right. So now that you've seen a video about what the neural sleeve is and how it works, that video was actually narrated by our CEO and founder. His name is Jeremiah, and he developed the neural sleeve when his daughter was born excuse me, when his daughter was born prematurely with cerebral palsy to help with her in her own mobility journey. That's kind of why it was started, and it is the first device of its kind that provides the full leg stimulation, full leg assistance to all four major muscle groups. So as you can see here, that's hamstring and quads for the upper leg, and then the lower leg, calf and shin.
Maddie, we got a question that I didn't see
Yep.
earlier in the chat. Carl is asking, which designer's clothes did you wear in on the runway? It's
Oh,
very
yes. Sorry, 1 second. It just got really hot in here. I was wearing Victoria's Secret Adaptive. So Victoria's Secret has an adaptive lingerie line. And so I was able to wear like one of their adaptive front clasping bras, and underwear, and then like a little like lounge set that like the little sweater and shorts that I was wearing over it. So yeah, if you have like hemiplegia, I would say I think the Victoria's Secret adaptive line is actually quite good. And because the bra clasps on the front, it's a little bit easier. Any other question?
Yes, this is Karen Cobb. I'm wondering, does this help with any pain or any muscle weakness?
This might be a question for Becky.
Okay.
Sure, yeah, I can answer that. Yeah, it certainly helps with muscle weakness. So it directly, stimulates the muscles. So we have walking programs as well as training or exercise programs. So you can do stimulated exercises for specific muscles, but it also provides that stimulation when you're walking to target weak muscles. In terms of pain, it's not directly indicated to help with pain, but
Right.
pain can be from a variety of reasons. It can be from stiffness, it can be from muscle spasm, it could be neuropathic pain. So we do have, a lot of individuals report improvements to pain
Mhm.
as a result of, decreased muscle spasms or just improved gait mechanics where they're not putting as much stress on their knee joint or hip joint.
How would
So
someone try one of these? Would they check with a physical therapist or doctor in some way?
yeah, so Matt, did you want me to take that?
Um, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the neural sleeve is sold direct to consumer, although does require a physician prescription. So you are, able to, and Maddie will talk about the payment model in a minute, I
Right.
think. But we don't currently have, we're a really small team. We don't currently have an option of um, like coming and demoing the sleeve, unless you're in the Bay Area, in which case you can come and
No.
see me
Yeah.
in San Francisco. But we don't have a lot of opportunity. I mean, every now and then we'll have opportunities um, if we're at a conference or whatnot for
Mhm.
people to trial the sleeve, but we don't have a general program around that. So um, and like I said, Maddie will talk about the model, but it's a pay as you go. And so you're not required to put up an upfront payment. You pay month to month. So you could try it. You would have to put some money in, but you could try it for a month. And if it wasn't working, you could cancel and you wouldn't
Just
have to
cancel,
pay me.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
pay me
I
a
would
few
talk to a
things.
doctor to prescribe it. And
Yeah, we have a prescription form through Psionic, and you would, it does not have to be a neurologist. It could be a primary care or other physician.
okay. Okay.
And
Thanks.
we'll talk a little bit more about that in like 2 minutes once we get through
Great.
these slides. So we're
Right.
almost there.
Thank you.
So where were we? Yes, so it is powered by algorithms. And so the neural sleeve can be used for gait, but like Becky was also mentioning, there is a wide library of exercises. So a lot of our customers will use the neural sleeve for strengthening and muscle re-education. So you can do different exercises like toe raises or eversion. Um, yeah, leg swings. I forget what that one's called, hamstring. There's a bunch of different exercises that you can do on there as well. And it is controlled by an app. So if you get the neural sleeve, you would need to have either an Android or iOS device in order to access the gait modes and libraries. At the end of every month, you also receive a report which details your usage of the sleeve, and it's pretty cool to be able to see like, oh, how many steps I did, or which exercises I used, what's my stride length. It gives you a lot of information and can be a resource that is very helpful to share with your care team, so with your doctors or therapists as well.
Also, that would measure your progress over time if you wanted to look at that,
Right.
which is
No,
really
exactly. It's pretty cool.
real important for stroke survivors because we tend to not think we're making any progress because it's so slow. And if you have the data, it's indisputable.
And you would be assigned one of our mobility specialists to work with, and they can also do specific assessments with you as well through the app to be able to gauge your progress over time, which is a neat feature as well. Regarding the fit of the sleeve, because this is a commonly asked thing, especially amongst stroke survivors, if you're hemiplegic or can only use one hand, I'll tell you myself, I am hemiplegic. I only use one hand, and I put the neural sleeve on by myself every time I wear it with just one hand. So while it does take practice, it is something that can be done. And if anyone is curious to know more about that, I'm happy to, talk more about that offline or, whenever. So don't hesitate to reach out. I have a lot of videos I've taken of myself putting it on with one hand, so I'm happy to share that with you all. It's comfortable, it's sleek, it can fit under clothes. I wear my neural sleeve under shorts. I even wear it under jeans or slacks, as well as dresses and skirts. So it can fit under, I think, pretty much any clothes, because I wear mine under jeans a lot when it gets colder.
I
The
was gonna say
bad,
you should make a video, but since you already have one of you putting it on one-handed, if you want to give me a link to that, I put it in the description.
I have a bunch of them, so I'll have to see which one is like the best of it. But yes, I have a bunch of videos
I think that'd
putting
be
it
real important because a lot of stroke survivors don't have much use of their affected hand.
right, and that's kind of like me too. So, it's something that it's not like I could immediately wake up one day and just be able to do it. I had to practice to be able to put it on by myself. But I live independently, so I don't have a spouse or a partner or family that live with me to help me. So I kind of out of necessity, I had to learn how to put it on by myself. But I like to share that because it can be done, and it's a concern for a lot of stroke survivors is being able to put it on. Uh, where was I? Oh, yes. So the control unit or the battery pack that powers your neural sleeve also has a pretty decent battery life. It's about 8 hours. I don't know about you guys, but I myself am rarely up and walking for 8 hours straight. So, like, oftentimes in between me going out, like if I'm just sitting at my desk doing work, I might have my control unit plugged in and, repower it up. Oh, I saw a question just came in. Does it work if you have spasticity or rigidity? Also, does someone assess you to see if this is an appropriate device for you?
Yeah, I can answer that. So we, yes, I'll just say yes, that we have a lot of individuals who report improvements to spasticity, more so spasticity than rigidity. But improvements to spasticity with the use of the sleeve. And we do have a clinical team of mobility specialists. And so part of the process of ordering is submitting a video of yourself walking, and
Mm.
we assess that walking video based on the gait pattern to make sure that your gait pattern would be a good fit for the sleeve. And then again, because it's by prescription, your physician is also, helping to determine if he or she thinks that's a good fit for you as well. And
And
Maddie, do you want me to take this slide?
I was going to say this is a perfect time, Becky, because the
Sure.
next few slides are yours.
Yeah, so the neural sleeve does fit a wide range of mobility levels. So its primary intent is to assist individuals with walking. But we do have some people who are not currently ambulating or are only ambulating in physical therapy, in parallel bars or body weight support system. and who are using the sleeve for those exercises at home. And then with the goal of transitioning to walking in physical therapy and then eventually at home. And so we have people on that end, and then we have people on the other end, probably similar to Maddie, who's out and about and walking around the city. So that sleeve can help a wide range of mobility levels. I will say for individuals with stroke, um, there is some a little bit of dependence on how long post-stroke you are. So if you've had your stroke 20 years ago, a lot of times the body has compensated and has some compensatory gait patterns, whether that's kind of swinging the leg out or raising your hip or whatnot. And so it may take some time to sort of change those gait compensations. And so um, just wanted to say that for the stroke community particularly, is that, a lot of times when people are hoping for this, really transformative device that improves gait right away, but it does take some time and effort and practice as well. And then this slide is just on one of our initial studies, really looking at foot drop. As Maddie said, a lot of individuals post CVA have either foot drop as a result of weakness in the ankle, or their foot kind of pushes down as a result of spasticity in their calf. And so the sleeve can assist with that foot drop. And the study was just showing that 94% of participants had improved ankle dorsiflexion or sort of that heel strike. And in stroke also, we often see what we call inversion, or the ankle sort of turning in or rolling in. And so the sleeve can also help with that ankle stability. And so there were improvements decreases in inversion that resulted in more ankle stability.
Awesome. Thanks, Becky.
Yeah.
Next up, we're going to talk about what the ordering and onboarding process looks like with the neural sleeve. It is a virtual process from start to finish, and while that may sound a little bit scary or intimidating, I can assure you that our team is with you every step of the way and will work with you to make sure you're comfortable with the neural sleeve, how to use it, and any other question that you may have. So the first step would be that we have a quick 5-question assessment on our website, psionic.com. So you would take that to provide some information about your diagnosis, your walking capabilities, and that's just to show if you're eligible for the sleeve, if you might be a fit. Assuming you are, you could place your order, you would submit measurements so that our team knows what your probable size will be with the sleeve, choose your color, and submit your down payment. After that, Psionic will send you a prescription form, which you would get your doctor to sign. And like Becky said, it does not have to be your neurologist, could be your primary as well. Then you will download the Psionic app and you will record a walking video of yourself before you get the sleeve. This is for our mobility team so they know what your gait patterns look like. Once you receive your neural sleeve, then a few weeks later, you will book your first onboarding and you will get someone from Becky's team, one of the mobility specialists, who will meet with you virtually through the Psionic app. And then they will guide you through and show how to set up the neural sleeve, set your correct levels of stimulation on the correct muscles, show you how to use it, put it on, take it off, and adjust it as needed. They'll also help set you up with the exercise programs if you want to do those as well. And we do have a cycling mode on the neural sleeve too. So you can use it for walking, cycling, or the strengthening exercises. Regarding the pricing, Becky mentioned this a little bit, but we are a pay-as-you-go model, which means it's a monthly subscription that you will pay for the neural sleeve. We have a down payment of $260, then it's $260 a month for the first year. And that cost covers the cost of the sleeve itself, as well as your electrode gel pad replacements, which need to be replaced about once every month. as well as your meetings with our mobility specialist team, and access to the programs, exercises, and any new app updates and upgrades. Continuing with the Neural Sleeve to year 2 and beyond, your price per month drops to $120 per month, which covers your extended warranty, meetings with your mobility specialist, the gel pad replacements, and the app updates and programs as well. You are able to cancel anytime since we are on a subscription basis. If you find that the Neural Sleeve doesn't work for you or you don't want to continue with it, you can cancel your subscription at any time, or you can even opt to take a couple month pause if you just want to take a break from it.
Okay, here's insurance. Never mind.
Yes, yeah, the next question is about the insurance. So I'll start by saying that we are eligible to be paid for under most FSA and HSA programs. We are not yet covered under Medicare and Medicaid, although that is something that our team is working really hard on now, and making progress. So hopefully we will soon. And then regarding private insurance, we are covered on a case-by-case basis. So that is something, you could submit for reimbursement, and our team can work with you to navigate that process as well. Additionally, if anyone here is a veteran, we are covered under the VA. So we have a process you can go through to get the Neural Sleeve through your local VA. That is about it for my presentation. I put my email address at the bottom, which is Maddie@Psionic.com, as well as a referral code you can use for a discount on the down payment, and that is QZSZ. But yeah, happy to answer. Me and Becky are happy to answer any questions that you guys might have right now. And obviously, shoot me an email or shoot our customer care team an email if you think of anything later.
And to anybody who joined us late, or everybody out there in YouTube land, the referral code, the emails, the link
I can
to,
send you that in an email too, Ralph, to share with
Hey,
everyone.
I'll put it, and yeah, anything and everything you send to me, I'll put it in the description under the video. I have a quick one for Becky. It was about inversion. Do you think that it helps with inversion's a tough subject, and you think it helps with the inversion? The thing that I found that helps the most with inversion is ankle strengthening. So would you attribute that 88% to ankles improvement in inversion to ankle strengthening? Because it doesn't, I mean, it stops above your ankle, so it doesn't, it's going to have to do with, pulling up that with the dorsiflexion and the ankle strengthening, I would think, but you're the expert, so.
Yeah, for sure. So the muscles, so yeah, you're right. The sleeve doesn't cross the ankle, but the muscles that control the ankle, the ones that lift the foot as well as turn the foot in and out, do start up in the calf or in the front of the shin. And so we can target those muscles, the everters, the pronaos longus muscle, which helps evert the foot or create more of that ankle stability. We can target that muscle during walking, and then we have a specific exercise to work on strengthening that muscle, sort of just more specifically. So that is, yeah, the inversion is a tricky component, and anytime we're talking about strengthening, it's going to take 8 to 12 weeks to see strength, like functional strength. So even though we can create some of that stability in the walking by stimulating the pronaos longus muscle, for it to actually gain strength is going to take some time. And so we often, for those, and Maddie talked about wearing an AFO, for those individuals who wear an AFO and really rely on it for that stability, oftentimes we start with the sleeve and the AFO. For safety purposes, we don't ever want anyone to roll an ankle or feel unstable. And so we'll start with stimulation to the lower leg, but have the AFO on for that safety component while they're working on strengthening the ankle stabilizers, and then with the goal of transitioning away from the AFO if that's the individual's goal. Some people don't, they want to use the AFO and their sleeve. So, it's really dependent on the individual's goals.
A girl I go to therapy with just this morning, she wears the Neural Sleeve, but she wears hers with an AFO too.
I love it when I ask a question and Becky, in your case, you answered the follow-up question as well, but about AFOs. It's a personal opinion, but I don't think we focus on ankles enough. I've helped a couple people get off of or lessen their dependence on an AFO through ankle strengthening and trying to get back to not having that resting foot too far to the outside. And the other thing is I've talked to at least 3 people who've taken up running. 2 of them have run marathons.
That's awesome.
What the secret is to running, and all 3 of them said ankle, ankle, ankle. So I think we, as stroke survivors, maybe we should get our physical therapists to focus a little bit more on our ankles.
Yeah, and a lot of times, some of the time, well, there's 2 things in the ankle. There's the weakness. Well, there's probably a bunch of things. There's weakness, there's sensation, or what we call proprioception. So just even being able to know where that foot is landing is sometimes hard. And then there's spasticity, often in the calf, which tends to push the foot down and turn it in. So oftentimes you're fighting some of that spasticity, and people use Botox injections or baclofen to help with that. But there's a lot of components that kind of contribute to that ankle instability. And absolutely, I had some serious ankle fractures with surgery, and I don't have good sensation in one of my ankles. And the ankle is really important for the whole chain of the leg, right? From the ankle to the knee to the hip, and then the low back. So is a important joint to remember.
Yeah, and you can sprain your ankle and it's worse than a break. It can take longer to heal than a broken bone.
Yes. Yep.
This looks like maybe a question for you, Becky. It says, what might be some good add-ons to use in conjunction with Psionic to amplify benefits?
Some good add-ons. What I am not sure what that question.
Maybe like, do you mean like added exercises or like therapy? Like maybe like doing therapy, like going to physical therapy with your
Yeah, I
neurologist?
mean, so any type, anything that really keeps you mobile, is going to be beneficial. Tools, devices. Yeah, actually, I mean, there are a lot of individuals that use really in conjunction with the sleeve. We have 2 individuals who use, and I cannot remember the name of the device, but it's a robotic device that assists with hip flexion. We have individuals who wear Swedish cages for knee extension, knee hyperextension. Um, really anything that is going to improve your walking, or create more stability or safety, it generally can be used in conjunction with the sleeve. The wiring is such that for the most part, any of external braces or robotic devices are compatible with the sleeve use.
I was looking around to see if Judy Johnson said she might be here today because she is a sleeve user, and of course, most of us aren't. So when we think about things, add-ons or whatever, it's conjecture based on how we imagine it works, as opposed to somebody who's like Maddie, who's an actual user. Maddie's the one who could give you the add-ons. I don't know how interactive the app is, but I think that apps that engage people, maybe even while they're walking or before and after, can be real helpful, motivating, and also possibly good for tracking. Just my
I had a comment about that. The
Sure.
app is pretty cool. You have your little skeleton that shows how it senses the movement of the leg, which is pretty cool. But of course, when you're walking, it's not a great time to be looking at the app when you're trying to focus on walking. But
Right.
I really liked the biofeedback part of the exercises where you're not doing the stimulation, but it actually shows your muscle activation. And that was great for me because I do have that sensory impairment, the problems with proprioception. Seeing on the screen, oh, I am activating that muscle. I am creating that muscle contraction to move into dorsiflexion was really great to help me improve movement.
Sure.
Yeah, Polly, that's a really great point. We do, so our exercise, our training programs, there are a couple that use the stimulation, and Polly, to your point there, we do have one which is a biofeedback, and so there's no stimulation, but it detect there are EMG sensors or muscle activity sensors in the sleeve, and so it is detecting muscle activation, and it just shows a little bar on the screen showing your muscle activity. So it's particularly helpful also for individuals who, yeah, who have sensory impairments, or maybe who don't feel that they're able to, or don't see a large movement, or their, muscle contractions not creating a large movement. It gives the feedback that that muscle is actually active, and you can, the more you kind of, it's like a feedback loop. If you're contracting the muscle and you see the bar, and then that kind of feeds back into the system, knowing that that muscle is contracting.
Good points. All right. Anybody got questions? Move on. Linda Hughes?
I have a question. Ralph mentioned a little bit before about he knows some people who went back into running and other athletics after their stroke. Have yous got any data specifically on the use in athletes?
That is a good question. No, we don't have any data. The sleeve does not technically support running. The biomechanics of walking are different than the biomechanics of running. We do have individuals who kind of pick up their speed a little bit, but we don't have any data necessarily on runners. I just set up an individual yesterday with multiple sclerosis, and she is an iron woman. So there are individuals who are pretty active, but we don't have data to kind of support the transition from, walking to running, or
Yeah.
it's more
Uh,
anecdotal.
Sorry, I wasn't meaning in a transitional active use period. I was meaning like a comparative data set. Like here is recovery and progress in someone who's not got the athletic background or currently in athletics, and then those who are more athletic, but they still go under your same training and recovery procedure.
Yeah, we don't have any specific data on that, unfortunately.
My
Fair enough.
opinion, athletes always do, people who are athletic or have trained for something. Well, if you're athletic, a lot of times that helps you in your stroke recovery because you're athletic. And just like age can sometimes help. I think anybody who's trained for anything like athletes do does better in stroke recovery just because they understand that you don't wake up tomorrow and not have drop foot. People spend your Iron Woman friend, spends a whole year to cut 10, 20, 30 seconds off her time, and it can be 8 hours, and she's trying to cut a minute off of 8 hours. And so athletes tend to understand that the goal is out there and you don't wake up tomorrow having achieved the goal. It's something you have to keep working for, and therefore they're more used to having a long-term goal like that, but that has nothing to do with it. Gary was asking because he's a fencer. Oh, he's still here. Everybody moves around. Linda Hughes has a question. Go, Linda.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Linda, and I just had a quick question. I heard you started to mention about the price, but I had to walk away shortly. Can you go over, if you can, quickly about the price again or the insurance?
Yes, sure, Linda, I can take that. This is Maddie. So we are a pay-as-you-go model, so it's a monthly subscription. We have a $260 down payment, and then it's $260 a month for year one, covering the cost of the sleeve, the electrodes, your meetings with your mobility specialist, and the app and any updates that we have there. Year two and beyond, the price drops to $120 a month. And so it is just a subscription basis, and you can cancel at any time. And then sorry, your second question was insurance.
Yeah.
We are not yet covered under Medicare or Medicaid. Private insurance is evaluated on a case-by-case basis, so that's something we can work with you on to submit for. And then if you are a veteran, we are covered under the VA.
I
Okay, well, thank you very much for that.
No problem,
I
Linda.
got a question, Maddie. You just said year two, 120 per for each month.
Yes, ma'am.
But does it stop there or does it continue?
It's a continual subscription because in order to use the sleeve in the app, you need the gel pads. Like I mentioned, they need to be replaced about once a month. So basically, you're paying to get the gel pads, which you need to power your sleeve. Any updates to the app, as well as if you want to do, meetings with your mobility specialist as well.
So if you purchase the sleeve and have it during 5 years, you continue to pay 120 each month for the fifth, sixth, 7 years.
That's the current that's the current model. That may be changing, but
Yeah.
that is currently
Okay.
how
Yes,
the
at this time. But yeah, you're right. It might be changing soon. So
Rita, a lot of what you're paying for is, access to Becky and all the, not necessarily Becky specifically, but what Becky does, the knowledge that's passed down to all their support people. Because it doesn't, it like any good product, it has to be supported to work properly. Of course, when you talk,
I understand it. But
Ralph?
it is $120 per month, times 12. It's $1,440 per year.
right,
I'm just to be sure.
Polly, I think you had something to say. Everybody talked at once.
I will say that I'm having to purchase electrodes now for use, and the electrodes, the sleeve uses 24 electrodes, and I purchased them, and a package of 40 costs $80. So you can see that a large portion of that price is just to provide the electrodes for
I
each month.
understand. Yeah.
Basically $45, $50 a month. Of course, all this, I'm the guy that will ask these questions. Basically, when you think about 5 years, the first thing that pops in my mind is, do you need it 5 years? Is there any data, Becky, about carryover? The magic carryover word?
that magic carryover. So we haven't been around for 5 years, although we have had some research subjects who have been in for 4 years. So we don't have a study on carryover specifically. One of our early research subjects who had had a stroke, she did graduate from the sleeve after about 18 months. Just wait for the
I'm trying to figure out where it is.
Yeah, no problem. I totally understand. Everything gets lost on my screen. So she, and that could be from, improvements to neuroplasticity. It could be strength gains, improvement to range of motion, motor control, just overall improvements to health. But her gait improved such that she, was no longer using her cane and felt like she was, walking as well as she expected to be. But we don't, um, state that the sleeve is intended for a certain period of time with the anticipation that you will again graduate. But there is carryover, and I don't know if Maddie or Polly want to speak to it or experienced it, but there oftentimes when you've been wearing the sleeve, if once you take it off for the day, your gait is often better for a period of time, whether that lasts, and stroke is different than MS, which is different than spinal cord. So there's a lot of diagnosis specific things involved in that, but yeah, so like it could happen such that there's really significant improvements, but the idea is that you wear it to improve gait while you're walking.
Well, you get a lot of benefit from things like, it's working like bilateral therapy or ipsilateral, because some portion of the signals are from the same side of the brain as you. I'm telling you, why do I always tell the doctors what they already know?
Oh no, it's great. I mean, so my doctorate is in is in rehabilitation science, and I did my dissertation on neuroplasticity and sensory motor processing. So I firmly believe that there is neuroplasticity. Anytime your patterns change or your movement changes or you learn a new skill or relearn a skill, there is neuroplasticity happening. There's changes to the brain. So, and I don't think that ever goes away. As long as you're alive, there's the capacity to form new connections, sprout new dendrites, kind of re-navigate that signal. So we don't, like I said, we don't have data on that. That requires neuroimaging studies. But I do think that there is neuroplasticity that is occurring.
Well, yeah, of course, anytime you move. And there's just, I saw it today. Well, I don't know if wasn't released today. I saw it today. It's new. So Swedes have did a study on neuroplasticity in older adults and found that age doesn't have anything to do with it either. So, and like I said, I got a lot of my body back by doing bilateral stuff, you pattern your hand and then do it on its own. Pattern it again when it falls apart. So there's got to be some carryover to walking better while you have the sleeve on, and then I would
Yeah.
just logical that you would walk better without it. And when I asked the question about carryover, I'm not picking on Psionic because I know people that have been wearing a Bioness for 6, 8, 10 years. So it's not like some people don't find it useful for some period of time, or some people have issues that are more difficult to overcome than other people. Stroke is such a variable thing between the types of stroke, the types of individuals, their mindset, what happened to their body, what happened to their brain, actually. So it's interesting. All right, anybody else?
I have a question.
Okay,
I have a
what
question.
It come in sizes, or is it standard?
It does come in a variety of sizes. It's not tailored specifically to the individual legs, but the sizing generally accommodates a wide variety, although not everyone, unfortunately. Like
Yep.
we're still working on that. We're still working on the pediatric version. We're not cleared for pediatrics, but there are a wide variety of sizes, and it's based on your leg measurements.
Well, it still grows around, so it has some adjustment, Winnie, in terms of it. It's not like a solid sleeve that has to fit your leg like a wetsuit. Like, when you order a wetsuit, they measure your thigh in 2 places and your calf and stuff because it has to be right. Because all you got is maybe a little zipper down at the ankle, whereas this has flaps that fold over from what I've seen in Velcro.
But you
Okay.
do measure it like that,
Yeah.
Ralph. because you have to make sure that the electrodes are in the right position because they are attached to the sleeve. And so it has to fit your leg properly to wrap around. And yes, there is some adjustment with the Velcro. There's a range to connect the Velcro, but the electrodes still have to make the contact in the appropriate areas.
To me, that's the magic of the darn thing. Because it does have to hit in the right areas.
Yep.
Question for you, Becky.
Yeah.
So the inversion, you talked a little bit about the inversion. So I've tried the Psionic for a little bit. It didn't work for me because my inversion was so bad. Because the inversion is such a tough one to crack to get that right.
Yeah.
Because you got the the spasticity that has a factor. The calf muscles you have to get right. Then the postotibialis, that's
Yep.
another muscle that you have to get that right.
Yep.
So it didn't work for me because of my inversion was so bad. And I tried it. I tried it pretty well, but it just didn't work. So I was just wondering if there was any improvements or data or maybe a different way or mechanisms that you guys maybe adjustments that you made from the electrode strength or anything like that that maybe improve,
Yeah,
or help.
we have been working on that. We um do have some improvements um kind of on the horizon.
Mhm.
Really that posterior tibialis muscle
Yeah,
is often the spasticity there is really creating a lot of that inversion.
right.
Individuals who use Botox kind of fluctuate the effectiveness of the sleeve as the Botox kind of wears on and like comes on and wears off. But if there's so much spasticity in that in inversion, the stimulation can't combat that. So
Yeah,
um, the muscle that inverter, the posterior tib, is going to hold that foot kind of in inversion, and no matter how high we turn up the stimulation is not generally going to be
okay.
enough to get a neutral ankle. I did work with one individual who experienced that, and um over a course of 8 months of really working really hard, she finally got some active eversion. And she used Botox regularly in the leg. But that's a tough one.
It is.
And yeah, but like I said, I mean, spasticity impacts most of our customers to some level. And so that's something and even with Jeremiah's daughter, something we're working really hard to address. And hopefully, there'll be more solutions in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to hear about because it's such a tough one to crack.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
So sometimes inversions are almost impossible to deal with. How would you like to try and come back from that?
Oh,
Oh gosh.
ouch.
Okay, it's nothing like that.
That's a friend of mine. I'm trying to help. We'll have to see what happens. They're actually
Holy shit.
trying
Holy
to
shoot.
Ralph,
yeah,
cryoneurolysis.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
That
Yeah, you
that's
should
a good.
see, there's one, and it was someone who they were showing upper extremity, but his hands, and they were so contracted, yes, and he had atrophied, he had with skin and bones, and it was a young adult male, so he was in prime, muscle building time, but he had the cryo and came back 6 months later. He had muscle definition in his arms.
Wow.
It just was incredible. And yes, he was, the right age and the right gender to be doing it, but it does it does make a big difference because my arm would be like this without the interventions. So I understand.
Thank you very much, and Josh, thanks you very much. I'm going to actually go visit him at the rehab hospital, spend a day with him and his therapist next week, and they've been talking. They're actually trying to manipulate, and I'm not a physical therapist. I know a fair amount about it from my own recovery and studying it and everything, but I don't know, they've also been talking about operations, so that's a great suggestion, and I can bring it up with the therapist at Medical University of South Carolina.
And the operations can be very successful, but oftentimes they are an endpoint and you don't rehabilitate after the operations. That they are, the way that Dr. Ree at Mayo Clinic talked to me about it, he was saying that the thing when it's like that, you're doing it for comfort and ease of wheelchair seating or for hygiene. You're no longer working on ambulation, that you're, just trying to ease life a little bit.
Well, and just going to leave it at this. I've known a number of people who've gotten operations. They don't always do everything that the patient wishes that they would, and we'll just leave it at that. So that's a great suggestion. I don't know what Josh has got in his future. He is a 35, 40. I'm not exactly sure of his age. He's a relatively young male. The one thing he's got going for him is he's got feet like that and he's stuck in a wheelchair, and they keep telling him they're not sure there's anything you can do for him, and he's still got a great attitude and works hard. So that's worth a lot in stroke recovery for those.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
You
that just makes me realize that it could be always worse.
That's why I said earlier, we don't know what kind of stroke. You also don't know what the individual's made out of. I think that's got a lot to do with recovery. How do you
Yeah,
respond?
for sure.
Are you a type of person that gets up every time something knocks you down, or are you a type of person that gets discouraged?
And Ralph, I think you made a great point earlier, is that and we see this with our customers too, it's really hard to see your own progress.
Right.
Um,
I
that,
say you can't watch your hair go gray.
yeah.
Brush your teeth every morning, you comb your hair, you go to bed at night. You're constantly seeing it. And then you see that friend who goes, "Wow, your hair turned gray, and so did your beard." And you go,
Ralph, I can see mine go gray because I have to get it colored every like 2 months because it starts
"Okay."
going gray.
And
My
you say
God.
to that friend, "Thanks
Unfortunately.
a lot, dude." So you're only 30. Well, I mean, I have a friend who,
I know. My mom started going gray at 16. And for me, it escalated after the stroke. I don't know if there's a
Yeah,
correlation, but my hair started like rapidly starting to get more gray more faster.
I can't
me
prove
After,
too.
it, but I
That
think
happened to me
there
too.
is. I,
yeah.
I think there is, just like there's a
So
thing with
annoying.
teeth, there's a thing with a lot of things that happen after stroke.
I'm too young for this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you'll like this one. I have a friend of mine who was completely didn't he had beautiful forehead line, no widow's peaks, no nothing, didn't lose any hair, but he turned completely white by the time he was 40, and people would not tease him but say something about it, and it just turned
If
to him.
you're a man, it doesn't, who cares?
He'd say, "I don't care what color it turns as long as it doesn't turn loose."
True. True.
Becky, I have a
Right.
question for you.
Yeah.
Like Musang, I also, when my onboarding, I had my AFO off and was walking, and we were turning on the electrodes. And the first thing they said was, put your AFO back on. We're not going to use the lower leg electrodes. We're just going to work on the upper leg for knee flexion. And that was really disappointing. And so similar to Musang, it wasn't as successful for me for ambulation. Are you doing any research into, because that seems to be particularly it does cross over into MS and CP somewhat, but it seems to be a very particular stroke problem. Is there any research going on into maybe what changes could be made or what adjuvant treatments could work with the sleeve?
Yeah, so again, we don't have specific research on this. We have a lot of anecdotal. So Botox certainly for some individuals as an adjunct to the sleeve helps. We have changed the way we set up a little bit. So initially, if an individual was using an AFO with the sleeve, we didn't turn on the lower leg so that it wasn't fighting the AFO, but we have since kind of sort of decided to turn that on at low level to start to get the muscles active. Like I said, we are working on some different algorithms for spasticity, hoping that 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 management of that tone can help relax those muscles so that the stimulation can be more effective at the ankle. So there is work on that. Yeah, but it's a tough one. And that is a reason why some people stick with their AFO and the sleeve. There are some individuals who, and particularly after stroke, some of you guys may have what we call extensor tone or extensor synergy, such that it's, the kind of the foot pushes down, the knee gets pretty stiff, that leg kind of feels like a stiff board. And so some people, even though they're not actively using the lower leg, do find the benefit of just being able to get the knee to bend a little bit more, and that kind of releases the hip and creates some improved or more efficient movement. Not everyone responds.
No,
Some people,
unfortunately, it wasn't strong enough to,
yeah. Because
yeah,
a lot of times people have quad tone also, so that
Yeah.
quadricep, which extends the knee, is preventing any knee flexion. And so, so like I said, a lot of our recent
exactly.
work has been on algorithms that, for some people, hopefully, a larger group, has the capacity to reduce some of that tone. Because really what we need is that tone reduction to allow the stimulation to be more effective for the muscles on the other side, right? So
Right.
yeah, so if your
And
quadricep tone is,
I have
yeah,
found, I always said I walk best after FES. I did this morning an hour on the restorative therapies FES cycle, and I walk best because it overloads the um spasticity in the quads and helps them relax some. So my best walking is getting off of that FES cycle.
yeah, there's two uses of stimulation for muscle tone. Well, in the literature, one is to, well, there's actually three. One is to really contract that tight muscle such that it kind of fatigues and just relaxes. The other one is to contract the muscle on the opposite side. So it's called reciprocal inhibition. So the contraction of the hamstring may result in relaxation of the quadricep. And then so that's sort of the motor level. And then there's research to support the use of sensory level stimulation like TENS, which is more of a continuous stimulation that feeds back through the spinal cord to relax the muscle. So, like I said, where we are and have been working on improving algorithms and changing some of the way the stimulation is delivered to help with the spasticity because like you said, that oftentimes it's just an inhibitor to the sleeve being able to work because it's just you can't fight that tone. So we're hoping we can relax it such that,
Yeah,
you know,
it wouldn't help because you can't use the sleeve with, but I was introduced to transcutaneous spinal cord stimulation in physical therapy this spring. And boy, has that helped with the reduction of the tone. And it's been amazing. And then the carryover of a 40-minute session of transcutaneous spinal cord stimulation gives me relief from some of the tone for 2 days following the
yeah,
session.
we do. We have one of our study subjects who uses that and has that tone reduction and then uses the sleeve so that she can kind of create, use the sleeve when she doesn't have as much tone to create a more typical movement pattern that then
Mhm.
hopefully can be reinforced over time. And that neuroplasticity, or whenever you're learning a new movement, it takes tens of thousands of repetitions to create or to kind of enhance that pathway. So it requires a whole lot of work. And that's part of it. If you're not seeing changes, it can get discouraging to keep up such level of work. But yeah, we do have an individual that does use that spinal stim and then uses the sleeve to try to kind of enhance what
But
she
what
got.
I found out trying to use them together.
Oh yeah, not together, but
No, because the spinal stimulation is like a being on a highway and you're driving and it's efficient and the signals are moving back and forth. And then you put the FES on and it's like putting a traffic light on the highway and it's like, all right, stop, all right, go, all right, stop, all right, go. And
yeah.
oh boy, we did try it in therapy. We tried the Bioness with the TSS and no, it was not successful.
Yeah, no, I would say to use the spinal stim first, and then once you're out of therapy,
Yeah,
use
we
this.
learned that.
Yeah.
I didn't notice earlier that Josh is the young man with the bad inversion. He's actually here in the meeting. He said he had therapy, and I think he joined us late. Anyway, just interested. I just noticed I was checking the chat and make sure I was keeping up with that, and saw a note from him. All right, anybody got any more questions for these ladies who've been so generous with their time?
Hey, Ralph. Hey, everybody. This is Josh. I'm in the therapy gym. I just wanted to thank you for everything. And my advice for everybody is just to stay strong and never give up. Never take anything for granted. And I'm in the therapy gym, so I'm going to put myself back on mute. I just wanted to thank you, Ralph.
No problem. Good thing I was saying good things about you and your attitude because I didn't realize you were here.
I
But
will say also that, as a physical therapist, um, and I don't ever, I mean, there's always hope, right? So, especially in these days when technology is moving so quickly, it's a little scary in some regard, but in the medical field, I think there's, such opportunity for technology to make really good gains. And so Josh, I so appreciate that message of not giving up hope. Who knows what's around the corner?
Yeah,
well,
we,
when I had my stroke 17 years ago, none of this stuff existed. I could only find one video on stroke recovery in the entire world, and I do Boolean searches. I already had a YouTube channel when I had my stroke. It's not like I'm an idiot and couldn't find any videos. It just didn't exist. Most of these technologies were possibly on the drawing board, but they didn't really exist. And I think we've rapidly increased the turnover rate for medical technology. It used to take 50 years to double. Somebody recently told me, a doctor recently told me that that's down to under 3 years from 50 years. The amount of knowledge that we have in the medical world doubles in less than 3 years, and it used to take 50. So just, try and wrap your head around that math, and you can see that, we're progressing medically at a lot faster rate than we did a while back. So you never know what tomorrow might bring, what people have got in the lab. Of course, unfortunately, it still takes a long time from Jeremiah's original idea to FDA approval. I think you guys beat the 17-year typically 17 years. So from a concept to availability. So hats off to Psionic, and hopefully other people can learn how to, we got to get that cycle down to 5 years. It's about 12 in Europe and 17 here. I think it should, goal would be 5. I mean, even that's.
How old is Sophia?
Isn't she like 16 now,
She's
maybe?
16 now. And one thing that we don't talk about is that the Psionic has a platform. The technology is also comes in what we call the Psionic platform, and that technology is available for other researchers to use. So we do have research group, for instance, at Shirley Ryan, that is using our technology, but they're using it in a different way. They're using the sleeve, but they also using additional components for gluteal stim, and they're looking at muscle synergies and different timings. And so the idea that Jeremiah had is that, we have, the psionic products, but that the technology can be used also outside of psionic, that, we're not going to solve all the issues that, other groups who are interested in research can use what we've developed, our technology, to advance that as well. So, so Ralph, hopefully we can cut down that time frame.
That's cool that it's, I don't know if it's completely open source, but it's cool that you share it, because we need more sharing going on. We had some
Oh
folks
yeah.
from the University of Vermont who fool around with iPhones and wearables. MedRhythms has done some work in this area with their Stride product. The more of this we see, and then the more of it that gets shared, the
Yep.
quicker. Well,
Yeah, for sure. That's collaborative.
right, and not every company out there would have to reinvent the wheel. That was my first thought when they sent me home from the rehab hospital. 790,000 people a year in the U.S., and they send us all home to reinvent the wheel for ourselves one at a time. This is stupid. And now I feel like all the groups and things that have come around, maybe stroke buddies should be working with other groups in some kind of collaborative effort, because we've all got websites and website developers, and we pay MailChimp and we pay Canva, and there's a lot of duplication of everything. So maybe the future is more consortium, more sharing would be good. Anyway, I got to be careful not to get up on my soapbox here. It's easy for me to do. All right, well, these ladies have been generous with their time. It's about 3:25, so anybody else got any questions? I'm not trying to shut out any more questions. I'm trying to allow it before I thank them and close out the meeting. So speak now or forever hold your peace, as they say at weddings.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you for
Well,
having
Yeah.
us.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
yeah,
you.
thank you, ladies. And once again, anything
Reach out anytime.
anything that Maddie gives me, including the video about her putting it on and the link to the Alabama event and all that, I'll put in the description underneath
Yes, sir.
the video. So thank you both, Becky and Maddie.
Everyone.
Really appreciate it. It was very informative, and there'll also be several hundred people watching on YouTube. Part of the reason we do this is for the YouTube audience, because not everybody can be here.
Join live. Exactly.
So I always tell that to guests, because I don't want them to expect 100 people in the meeting. Personally, I don't think I'd want to have 100 people in the meeting. It get hard to manage. So thank you. And Maddie, you and I will be in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you for having us, Ralph.
No
And thank you,
problem.
everyone.
And I'll get you Zoom recordings and the emails of the participants.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day,
Thank you.
everyone.
All right.